3 High Atlas is doing something that should be physically impossible. What scientists are observing is forcing them to rewrite their understanding of how objects interact with the solar wind. Solar observatories detected something extraordinary. The constant stream of charged particles flowing from the sun. The solar wind that affects everything in our solar system is bending around Atlas, not just deflecting slightly, like it does around planets and comets, but curving in ways that require forces orders of magnitude stronger than Atlas's size and mass should be able to generate. The solar wind flows at roughly 1 million ms. It takes enormous magnetic fields, like Earth's magnetosphere, to significantly affect it. Yet Atlas, an object less than a kilometer across, is creating disturbances in the solar wind, visible across millions of miles of space. The deflection zone extends 50 times farther than it should, based on Atlas's physical dimensions. But here's what has physicists completely baffled. The bending isn't consistent. Sometimes the solar wind curves around Atlas in one direction, sometimes another. Sometimes it accelerates as it passes Atlas. Sometimes it slows down. The patterns change in ways that suggest active manipulation rather than passive deflection by a magnetic field. Before we break down what's causing this impossible phenomenon and why it suggests Atlas has capabilities we never imagined, consider what this reveals. Atlas is manipulating fundamental forces in ways that challenge our understanding of physics itself. The solar wind has been flowing through our solar system for billions of years, following predictable patterns, until Atlas arrived. Now those patterns are breaking down in ways that suggest we're witnessing technology so advanced it can reshape the space environment around itself. Here's what makes this so absolutely insane. The solar wind is one of the most powerful forces in our solar system, and nothing small should be able to mess with it. But Atlas is treating the solar wind like a toy. Imagine a river flowing at hundreds of miles per hour, not water but a plasma river of charged particles shooting out from the sun constantly. That's the solar wind. It's moving so fast that when it hits Earth, our entire planet's magnetic field has to work overtime to deflect it. Earth is huge. We're talking about a planet with a molten iron core thousands of kilometers across, generating our protective magnetic bubble. But here's the thing that should blow your mind. Atlas is less than a kilometer wide. It's tiny compared to Earth, yet it's creating deflection effects that match or even exceed what our entire planet does. How? Nobody knows. That's what's keeping scientists up at night. Think about what this means. When solar storms hit Earth, those massive bursts of particles from the sun, our satellites get fried. Power grids can go down. GPS systems fail. That's the solar wind overwhelming our planetary defenses. Now picture something the size of a large building doing a better job at deflecting that same force. It's like watching a person hold back a tsunami with their bare hands. It gets weirder. When comets, which are way bigger than Atlas, pass through the solar wind, they barely make a dent. Sure, the solar wind pushes their tails around, but the comet nucleus itself just takes the hit. The solar wind flows right over it like it's not even there. But the solar wind is bending around Atlas like there's an invisible force field. We're not talking small deflections here. We're talking about the solar wind starting to curve tens of thousands of kilometers before it even reaches Atlas. It's like the solar wind sees Atlas coming and decides to go around it way in advance. Scientists are running calculations and coming up with numbers that make no sense. The magnetic field strength needed to create what we are seeing would require technology that's theoretically impossible at that scale. We're talking about field strengths thousands of times more powerful than anything humans have ever created, generated by something you could park in a football stadium. Here's where things go from "that's really weird" to "what the hell are we actually looking at?" The deflection zone, the area where the solar wind is being pushed around Atlas, extends 40,000 kilometers in every direction. That's 3 times the diameter of Earth. Atlas is creating a protective bubble around itself that could fit 3 Earths inside it, from an object that's less than a kilometer across. But wait, it gets crazier. This isn't just one simple bubble. Scientists are detecting layers, like an onion made of invisible force fields. The outer layer, about 30,000 kilometers out, slows down the solar wind particles by 15%. They're losing speed and energy like they're hitting an invisible wall. Then there's a second layer closer in, around 15,000 kilometers from Atlas. And this one is doing the opposite. It's accelerating particles, adding energy to them, pushing them in specific directions around Atlas. It's like Atlas has a two-stage defense system. Slow the threat down first, then redirect it away. This isn't a passive magnetic field like Earth's, where solar wind just bounces off naturally. This is active manipulation. Atlas is doing something to these particles, grabbing them with invisible hands, slowing them down, speeding them up, steering them where it wants them to go. Here's the part that's making physicists question everything. The solar wind is getting hotter as it passes through these zones. Temperature increases by 40%. Where's that heat coming from? Heating plasma requires energy, lots of it. Atlas is pumping energy into the solar wind while simultaneously deflecting it. One scientist described it like this. It's like watching someone not just block a punch, but catch the fist, slow it down, redirect it, and set it on fire all at the same time. That's not defense. That's total control. What's even more mind-blowing is that this whole system is operating continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Atlas is maintaining this massive deflection zone. The power requirements for that. We're talking about the output of a major city's power grid, running non-stop from something the size of a building. Nobody can explain where that power is coming from, but here's where it goes from impossible to absolutely terrifying. The deflection zone changes, actively changes, in response to what's happening around it. When there's a solar storm, one of those massive eruptions from the sun that would normally fry satellites and cause problems on Earth, Atlas's deflection zone doesn't just sit there and take it. It gets stronger. The protective bubble expands. The particle deflection becomes more aggressive, and Atlas essentially goes into defensive mode. Let that sink in. Atlas is monitoring the solar wind. It's detecting threats and responding in real time by adjusting its defenses. That means there's either incredibly advanced artificial intelligence running these systems, or something conscious is actively managing them. One researcher watching these changes described it like watching someone put up storm shutters when they see a hurricane coming, then opening them back up when it passes. That's not how physics works. That's how intelligent systems work, but it gets even stranger. Every few hours, the deflection zone pulses. It expands by about 15%, then contracts back to normal size, over and over again like a heartbeat. Is it some kind of system reset? A scanning pulse? A signal being sent through the solar wind itself? The deflection zone is asymmetric, stronger on the side facing the sun and weaker on the backside. That's optimization, deliberately allocating resources where they're most needed. That's what you do if you were designing a spacecraft shield and wanted maximum protection with minimum power consumption. Scientists are also noticing that when Atlas makes course corrections, the deflection zone reconfigures, shifting, adjusting its shape, maintaining optimal coverage based on its new direction of travel. This isn't just a defense mechanism someone turned on when they built Atlas. This is an active intelligence system making decisions about how to protect itself moment by moment. Scientists are scrambling to explain how any of this is possible, and every theory has massive problems. Theory 1. Maybe Atlas has some kind of super powerful magnetic field generator. Technology so advanced it can create magnetic fields thousands of times stronger than anything we can make, but small enough to fit inside that 800 many-object problem. Even if you could miniaturize the equipment that much, which we can't, where's the power coming from? We're talking about continuous output equivalent to a nuclear power plant. You can't hide that kind of energy generation. We'd see heat signatures. We'd detect radiation. But Atlas is just doing it. No visible power source at all. Theory 2. What if Atlas is shooting out its own plasma, creating a cloud of charged particles around itself that pushes against the solar wind like a plasma force field? Problem: the amount of material you'd need to constantly eject to maintain that kind of cloud, you'd run out fast, really fast. Atlas would need massive reserves of eject